Welcome, guys, back to another episode of Down to the Wire. I'm here back with the Shark, and today we're just going to be talking just different stuff throughout the NBA. Just some casual takes, like the last episode, or not the last episode, but one episode is called Just Casual Takes or whatever. Um, we'll find something special to name this episode. So Dalton, take it away with the questions, and I will have the responses.
All right. So, Abe, as you know, the Nets just continued to add more stars to their players. As you know, they recently added LaMarcus Aldridge. Do you think that the hype is going to get to the Nets, or do you think they're going to maintain and stay calm under pressure?
Well, Dalton, ever since the beginning of this year specifically, I've always said the Nets are a title contender. They were a title contender before they got James Harden,
Hmm.
and afterwards, I said once they did get James Harden that they were still a title contender, but it was going to be hard because that locker room was going to be terrible, and there's only one basketball, so they're not going to be able to share it very well.
Hmm.
I will be the first to say that I was completely wrong, and I'm glad I was wrong. James Harden has fully figured out his game for the Brooklyn Nets and has played out of his mind. He is dropping 10 plus assists this year, which is unheard of. I don't think he's ever done that in his career, probably since OKC, because he wasn't that type of player in Houston. So it's kind of interesting to see that. Now, afterwards, he got who did then they got Blake Griffin.
Like, hmm.
Blake Griffin has been playing all right. I think he's still trying to come out of a slump that he was in the with Detroit, because Detroit wasn't the greatest fit for him.
Yeah.
Then they get LaMarcus Aldridge. Those are three. Okay, so this is what they have. They have Harden at the 1, Kyrie at the 2,
Yeah.
Katie or Joe Harris at the 3, Katie at the 4.
Hmm.
I think LaMarcus Aldridge at the 5. I think they have Landry Shamet.
Okay.
Um, who else do they have? I know they have some other good notable players. Let me look. Um, Nets depth chart. All right, so let's see who else they have, because they've got a lot of good talent on that roster. Jeff Green.
Okay. That's a good one.
Um, Tyler Johnson.
Hmm.
DeAndre Jordan, which he hasn't playing as well as people thought he was going to, but he's still an all-star.
Yeah.
And
Nonetheless.
Nicholas Claxton, who has been playing absolutely phenomenal.
Hmm.
I know that they said that they might get rid of DeAndre Jordan, but you still have those 7, 8 players, and when it comes down to playoff time, that's all you really need is only 8. You only utilize 8 or 9 players.
Hmm.
So I don't think. I hope that the way they continue to play will play out the way that they're hoping. But
Hmm.
if they don't make the finals, or at least the conference finals, if they don't make either or, which I think they will probably make the conference finals and most likely make the finals. But if they don't make conference finals at the most, that is the biggest snub of a team of all time.
Wow. Pretty bold of a statement.
Well, this is why. You go on and add. Let me show you how many people have been an all-star on the team. 1, James Harden. 2, Kyrie Irving. 3, Kevin Durant. Marcus Aldridge. Blake Griffin. DeAndre Jordan. That's 6 fringe all-stars. Everyone who has been a all-star.
Hmm.
I just don't see it. And then you have 4 great role players in Jeff Green, Tyler Johnson, Landry Shamet, and Joe Harris.
Hmm.
Honestly, this team might be looking better than the Warriors in 2019.
Probably.
Just with the Warriors and what they had on the bench compared to this, I don't think this compares. And give or take, DeMarcus Cousins wasn't playing like his 25-point self, what he was on the Kings.
Yeah.
Everyone else was still playing out of their mind except him, but you don't have as much bench talent, and you don't have a healthy center.
Hmm.
but the Brooklyn Nets have it all.
Yeah,
And their coaching system has been playing well too. Their defense might not be on the greatest side, but their offense is phenomenal.
I agree with that for sure.
So I think whatever Mike D'Antoni and Steve Nash are doing is working. We just have to see how they adjust to the playoffs. Because I know they only have Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, DeAndre Jordan, and maybe a couple other players for only a year left. So this seems like a do or die year because of salary cap. Because yes, even though Brooklyn is a high market team, I think salary cap's gonna hit them next year. If it doesn't, then there's something going on. Honestly, because like this is getting a little bit ridiculous. But
Yeah,
if they don't make the conference finals, at least it is the biggest snub of a team of all time.
it's pretty bold. But besides the point, all right, let's move on. We're still gonna stay on the East, but as you know, the Charlotte Hornets, they're right now fourth seed in the East, and obviously, with LaMelo Ball being out for the season, do you think the Hornets will stay where they are, or will they go down?
I think they'll stay where they are just because of the East and just there's not much talent in the bottom half of the playoff run. So for like 5s through 10. Um but I don't see them getting very far in the playoffs just because without their number one leader, it does make it a little bit harder. It's like if you were to pull LeBron or Steph off their teams for the playoffs, they wouldn't get far because you need to have your all-time leader on the court to lead you there. And it seems like LaMelo Ball is just that for that team. It's not Gordon Hayward. It's not Terry Rozier. It's not Devontae Graham. It is LaMelo Ball, at least from what I've seen. But
Uh,
I think second round the most. I don't see them going to the conference finals just because of the top 3 teams, which is the Bucks, Nets, and what's the last team?
Sixers.
76ers, yeah. Um it all depends if they could potentially go to the conference finals. Depends if the 76ers get Joel Embiid back.
If they have,
They have? Okay. So then yeah, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to get to the conference finals, but I think second round exit.
yeah,
Who
I
is
could see that.
who's the 5th seed right now? Is it the Heat?
Nope, the Hawks.
Hawks. I'm not a big believer in Trae Young and his winning ability yet in the NBA. I'm just not. I don't see he has the drive in him. I also don't think the Hawks have that great of talent. Yes, they do have Clint Capella, John Collins, Rondo's on that team now too. I know
Left.
Rondo left, and they got Lou Williams. So Lou Williams is on that team. Yeah, they have some talent. I just don't think it's all meshing well together yet. I think that you have to give it a couple more years, let people grow and become more of in their prime. Then I think maybe that we'll get a better Hawks team. I just haven't seen it in Trae Young yet. I haven't seen his winning drive yet.
I can sort of see that because, in my opinion, Trae Young's a bit overrated. Even though he's a phenomenal player, it's just even though he did add a bit of a supporting cast, I don't think he has what it takes to
I
go on to the next.
I don't think I don't think he has the leadership. I don't think he has enough talent in the league yet to get past all these big teams. Um
Hmm.
and it seems like his game type is street ball. Like
Yeah, he's
he'll nutmeg people, he'll cross people up. It seems more like it's a street ball type player. It seems like his play style is kind of like a Lance Stevenson. I think
mm,
handling the ball wise and just the way they run the floor, it's very very similar between them two.
you can see that for sure. All right, now let's actually move on over to the Western Conference. As you know, the Jazz are still the best team in the league. The team that is right behind them is the Phoenix Suns, and obviously on our episode with Dugan, we talked about how stacked the Suns are. And Abe, do you think if there's any team that could top the Jazz, do you think the Suns could do it?
I think a lot of teams can top the Jazz. The Warriors have played the Jazz. I'm gonna go into Warriors. Because they're obviously on the verge of missing the playoffs. Um, the Warriors beat the Jazz, and I think they had a full team on that roster as well. So I think any team can be beat. If you put
Me,
an if in front of anything, anything can happen. If Kevin Durant played the finals in 2019, the Warriors would have won. Yeah, I think if it could happen, it could happen. If Chris Paul got traded to the Lakers, would that have been probably one of the best dynasties? Probably, yeah.
I would.
If LeBron never left Cleveland, would he have a ring? Maybe not. There's so many things that could play out in a what if situation that it could bound to happen. And I think the Jazz are a team that could definitely be had. I just don't want the Jazz to be a first round exit like they've been the last few years. First or 2nd round. I hope they make it to the conference finals. I really do. It's just if LeBron comes back and playoff LeBron happens, because LeBron can play. It seems like LeBron can play through almost any minor injury.
Sure.
The Nuggets are on the rise too. They're passing the Lakers for the 4th seed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Only 2 games, or 1 or 2 games behind the Clippers. Clippers. I've been a big doubter of the Clippers. I think the Clippers they have a lot of good all-star talent. They lost a lot of it last year, obviously, but I don't know. Just with the Clippers, I'm not very sure how far that will go.
I can see that.
But the Suns play the Mavericks. The Mavericks haven't. They're hovering the same spot they did last year, but I think they did lose a lot more talent this year.
Yep, of course. And
like
I said before, they're making the most of what they have.
Yeah.
And you have to give them props.
They are making the most of what they have, and I will give them props for that. But playing the Suns in the first round is hard for them. I think that's one of the worst teams you would want to play in the first round is the Suns.
Yep.
Honestly, you might even... I don't know. If I were the Mavs, playing for that 7th seed might not be the greatest idea.
Because right now the team that's ahead of them is Portland, and they're
2 games ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So either they're gonna have to push ahead to the 6th seed, or if I was Rick Carsley, I'd say play back on the 7-8 game, give the Grizzlies the 8 game, and then fight for the 8th seed if they're willing to take a risk.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not, I think the Suns are a team that are gonna be hard to beat. Because it seems like 1 and 2 are locked in place, unless if the Jazz have a little bit of falling off towards the end of the season. But they only have a month left of games.
Yeah, because I think they played only 50 games, and there's 22 games left.
Yeah, so about a month left of games if we think 2 to 3 games a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I think 1st and 2nd are pretty much stuck in stone. I think the Mavericks could potentially win 2 games, and the Trailblazers could lose 2 games, hypothetically speaking. But if that doesn't happen, because it doesn't seem like it's likely, I think the Mavericks could, hypothetically speaking, lose the first round and then win the second round of the play-ins, just so they have an easier time. Because I think the Jazz are an easier team to beat than the Suns. I just think the Suns have a harder division that they have to play in.
Yeah, for sure. They have to play
because they have to play the Warriors, which are sometimes a team to be had. Not recently. I've been very upset with that. Clippers, Lakers, and Kings. I think the Kings are a very overlooked team just because of how stacked the West is. I think if you give them a few years, they'll have a lot of talent that will grow and just let a lot of other older veteran talent leave, and then the Kings will be a good 5th to 8th seed team, maybe even a 1 to 4 seed team if they can pull it together.
Bold.
Yeah, I like the Kings. I like Marvin Bagley. I like Buddy Hield. I like De'Aaron Fox. Harrison Barnes is playing out of his mind. I think the Kings are a team to be had in the next few years. Just got to let older talent come by. And then, because who are in the Jazz division? The Nuggets?
The Thunder,
Trailblazers, and Timberwolves.
Mm-hmm.
Rockets and T-Wolves, they're out. They can't win.
They're tanking.
They're basically tanking. Nuggets, they're doing pretty well. I think they're on a 6-game win streak. They're doing pretty well. And Trailblazers, it's always like a team that will do well in the playoff. I mean, well in the regular season, but then lose in the playoffs.
That's how they've been.
Yeah. They haven't proved to me that they can be a lethal threat in playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, 2019 they made it to the conference finals.
But even in the 2019 conference finals, let's look at who they had to play
Golden State.
besides Golden State in the conference finals. The the Nuggets, the second seed Nuggets that weren't necessarily that great.
hmm
I think
And then,
I think second seed they were just a good. I just don't think they had the playoff drive in them yet.
mhm,
Then they played the Thunder, and that
yeah,
locker room was already messed up as it is. Paul George and
or Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook's finals years in OKC. I think that locker room was messed up. Billy Donovan was out of his mind. Um, yeah, I think they had an easy road to the conference finals that year specifically.
Yeah, and the Warriors had more of a tougher journey because
Warriors had a good Clippers team that I think, honestly, if you gave them Kawhi and Paul George, they would have probably almost swept the Warriors because the Warriors were in disarray that series. Then you had the Rockets. KD goes down. They managed to pick it up. Then they sweep the Blazers. Then they lose 4-2 to the Raptors. I think the Warriors did have a harder journey to get to where they needed to rather than the Blazers. The Blazers, obviously, that's the farthest they have been in a postseason run in the last
well,
6 years.
okay, okay. I was about to say like of all time, I would have to disagree.
Well, yeah, all time, obviously. They've been to finals. But this year, farthest they've been in a playoff, or last 5-6 years, farthest they've been in a playoff run was the conference finals.
Mhm.
Even last year, they played the Lakers, who didn't even seem like that great of a team, and now they're 4-1. They lost 4-1.
Mhm.
And honestly, they didn't do much to change up their roster.
Not really. They just added more debt,
Mm-hmm.
sure. And and I know, Gabe, that you make the biggest emphasis on depth chart, and obviously with me, I make a big emphasis on supporting cast. Do you think that I'm guessing this question's like, what do you think matters more, having a supporting cast, like with the Warriors with Curry, Durant, and Clay, or would you rather have a team with like a strong bench or depth chart? Which would you prefer?
So this is my team. This is my issue with both things.
Okay.
A good supporting cast will help you get far, but think of the Let's think of the last. Let's think of the last two dynasties: the Warriors and the Lakers, or Warriors and the Heat.
hmm
Look at the IQs on that team. Not the skill, but the IQs. Battier, Wade, Haslam, LeBron, Bosch, Curry, Clay, Durant, Draymond, Iguodala, Livingston. All 10 of those players, not necessarily, like, yes, some of them are superstar level, will make the Hall of Fame. But I named like 6 or 7 players that aren't going to make the Hall of Fame, but have great IQs.
hmm I can see that.
Haslam, Battier, Chalmers, Bibby, Iguodala, Spates, Livingston. All good role players that have great IQs on how to play the game of basketball.
Sure.
Yes, you could have a great supporting cast like the Nets, but that's what I'm worried about, is that how far is that team going to go come playoff time? Because if you don't have the proper IQs, I'm just worrying that team, besides the big three, that team is way too young. Because everybody's calling them young and washed. Washed specifically being LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. Young, I'm thinking Shamet, Harris, Claxton, Tyler Johnson.
hmm I can see that.
It's a mix.
Mhm.
So they
Sure.
have depth and they have supporting cast, but what's gonna push them past? I think if they don't make it successfully, I think we'll see the difference. Is it them putting 30 points up each and not making it, or is it that they're all putting up like 10 to 15 or 20 20 20 10 15 10 15 and they're still not making it? Then that'll be okay. Either this needs to be either it needs to be more of a supporting cast or it needs to be more of depth. And I think that will give us a good explanation on what that team needs. I think every team is different, especially with playing styles. With the Warriors, it's a supporting cast because everybody's in that ball movement era. If you watch the Warriors, they throw the ball, move, throw, and then Steph shoots a three. I think with the Mavericks, another team, it's a little bit of both. You have to give Luka his space. You have to give KP his space. But with the volumized 3-point league, where all they do is shoot 3-pointers. If you have a good 3-and-D player, you'll make it pretty far. Mm-hmm. They don't have the Mavericks don't have a 3-and-D player. I think that's what they were hoping Josh Richardson to be, but that wasn't it this year.
100% wasn't.
I think the Mavericks last year, they had a good few 3 players and a few good D players. Nothing really, not 3D players, but they had 3 players and they had D players. So, what I think is that I think they were a mixture of both, but that talent, that age on that roster was very, very young, and there was little to no experience on that roster. I think most people were in their 5th or 6th year at the farthest.
Yeah.
There was no veteran leadership for the finals. I would have liked to see Vince Carter come back on that team and help that team maybe inch somehow past. I think that maybe would have helped it. Because you have to think, they had to play against people like Kawhi, Paul George. Even though Paul George was... Because... Yes, you might be in a shooting slump. Yes, you might not be putting up as many points, but you're still on the court having vision for that team. You're still helping lead that team. Then you had Patrick Beverly, who was on the bench. He was still a locker room voice. You have Montrezl Harrell. You have Landry Shamet. Good young players, but you have veteran leadership that leads you. That's why. Because, someone one time, I'm going to switch sports. We're going to go to football. Dalton, can you tell me who won the Super Bowl 50?
The Broncos.
Okay. Who won MVP of that year? What?
Wait, are you talking regular season or Super Bowl?
Super Bowl MVP.
It's got to be Peyton Manning.
It wasn't Peyton Manning.
Because it was a defensive game.
Mm-hmm.
Was it probably Von Miller?
It was Von Miller.
Okay, I figured.
So I was making the case of that you need veteran leadership on your team in order to go far. And someone said, no, look at the Broncos 2016. Von Miller won the MVP. Okay. Just because Von Miller won the MVP doesn't mean he was leading the team.
No.
Who was leading that team the entire playoff run? I don't think a linebacker leads a team. I don't.
No. The QB.
The QB usually leads the team, and that was all-time great Peyton Manning. That puts the mentality on the field. Look at the last few great QBs in the last 10 years. Brady, great leader. Manning, great leader. Aaron Rodgers, great leader. Russell Wilson, pretty good leader. Patrick Mahomes, pretty good leader. All of these people I've named have won a championship in the last 10 or 15 years. Because they know how to lead their team. But yeah, I think leadership is very, very underrated in sports, because I think people just be like, oh, put up have everybody put 28 points up a game and you'll win. Yeah, maybe in street ball. Not here though.
Regular season.
You have to have the right mentality in order to get past things. Yep. And just give my final things on what we were talking about either depth or supporting cast. it really depends. It all has a good mixture, but you need a little bit of everything in order to go far. Because it seems like now in the NBA, you need 3, let alone 4 fringe all-stars to go to the finals and win. Then if you have veteran players who can get it done and be good role players, then it'll be great. Dalton, there's 2 things I want to ask you before we go off.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
So the first one is, Kelly Oubre said that he does not want to be a bench player, especially when Klay comes back. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I thought Kelly Oubre was starting.
But I'm saying when Klay comes back.
When Klay comes back,
yeah,
it's because what's Warriors lineup? It's Curry.
It's Curry, Oubre, Wiggins, Draymond, Wiseman.
Okay. Well, you have to figure that. Well, first things first is that Klay Thompson hasn't played a game in over 2 years, and he's oozing to be back on the court, and Kelly Oubre simply doesn't have what it takes to take the shoes of Klay Thompson. He just doesn't. I mean, if you first off compared their games, Klay Thompson's a way better shooter. And plus, another thing that is often underlooked about Klay Thompson is his defending. And Kelly Oubre is not the best of defenders, while Klay Thompson is actually pretty good for a defender. So the comparisons aren't even much of a comparison. So Kelly Oubre is for sure going to be like a bench player when Klay Thompson comes back.
Klay is a top 3 to 5 shooting guard and a top 3 two-way player in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's very overlooked for his skill. Just because people think he just shoots the ball. He does a lot more than just shooting the ball.
I agree.
All right. Then we have to talk about it. It's not NBA, but it is college ball. The Baylor Bears just beat Gonzaga in the championship. We did a bracket between me, Dalton, one of our other friends, and our 2 small group leaders. I'm going to tell you who everybody picked as their final or their winners and the placings that we had. I'm not gonna dox people though, just because it keeps confidentiality. We have our 5th placed person who got Ohio State. I just gotta acknowledge this. To me, I would never ever pick a football team to win March Madness, just because there are only a few teams in basketball that are also good at football. One of them being Oklahoma. But they didn't go far.
Also in the second round.
Clemson didn't go far this year. Ohio State didn't go far this year. I just can't put a football team to win it all.
No.
All right, then we had 4th and 3rd place picked Gonzaga, and Dalton was one of those 2.
Yep.
He was 4th. Then me and someone else picked Baylor to win it all, and I was 2nd.
Yeah.
I think this is a hot take of mine. Gonzaga does not know how to get it done in the finals. And they are very, very overhyped every single year.
Well, here's the thing. You also have to realize that Gonzaga plays in a very weak conference.
That's true.
That's the reason why they almost end up undefeated, like in the regular season. Then it comes to the tournament, they choke, and even though they made it all the way to the ship, thanks to Jalen Suggs' game winner in the Final Four.
I think honestly, if he didn't hit, because that was a lucky shot in my opinion. I think it was
some skill.
I just, the way he shot it did not look like it was gonna go in. And I honestly think if they went to overtime, I think UCLA would have won it. I think the 2 dark horses for the entire March Madness bracket this year were UCLA and FSU.
Florida State?
Florida State University was doing pretty well.
Wow.
Florida State University always has had a pretty good basketball program.
You're forgetting about Oral Roberts. Come on now.
That's not
Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts is not a dark horse team. They are a surprise team. No one thought Oral Roberts was gonna do well, and they did. Dark
They
horse
went
means that everybody. Dark horse means everybody looks over them, and I think FSU and UCLA are two teams that are overlooked just because they are decent. They used to be really really good basketball schools until very recently because all the other blue blood schools took over, and everybody forgets how good they are.
hmm
Same with Baylor. I think Baylor has always been a pretty decent basketball team. Just never had the skill. I think they had the coaching all along, just never had the skill. And now they do. That's how they won the championship.
Yep. Yeah, and a perfect season by Gonzaga. But another thing that I wanted to mention about the tournament is Oregon State. You know, they made it to the Elite Eight, and that's another team that shocked me. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think I think a lot happened this year that not a lot of people expected to happen. So I think it did shift a lot of people's brackets. I don't think there was a perfect bracket out there. I'd be
No,
very surprised if there was, just because of teams like Oral State, Oregon State,
so probably
Illinois losing, Houston losing. There's a lot of good teams that lost pretty
more.
mid to early. Um, that ruined people's brackets.
Yeah, and the little Chicago, they fell through.
Yeah, I had Illinois going to my Final Four and they lost, but hey,
That's what brackets
I
are
still
for.
played second, so I'm fine with that. Last thing we have to talk about, another big basketball topic. Roy Williams, after 33 years of coaching the North Carolina Tar Heels, has retired.
Wow, what a career that guy has had. Coached so many good players.
He has coached so many good players. He came a little bit after Jordan left.
Yeah.
He came a little bit after Jordan left. Dalton, two questions. One, how do you think his legacy has impacted college basketball? And two, how do you think that what am I trying to say? How do you think UNC is going to fill the void that he has put them? Because UNC is still a blue blood school. You can never doubt them you can never doubt the heart of a blue blood school. But is this coaching void going to hurt them, or or are they going to figure it out?
So basically, the first question is Roy Williams left an amazing career at North Carolina, and you know he led them to some national championships, and you know like I just said, he coached so many great players, and most of the players he coached are in the NBA or played in the NBA, and I think it's going to be very hard for North Carolina. It's going to be very hard for them. They're not going to figure it out right away. It's going to take them at least 2 years in order for them to get back to somewhat normal because they're going to have to get used to whoever's going to step in as their new head coach. And and even though they're in the ACC where basketball is actually competitive because of Duke, and even though Duke still has Coach K, I think it's going to show more proof that Coach K is going to take over the Duke and North Carolina rivalry. And but yeah, I don't think the Tar Heels will figure it out anytime soon with Roy Williams leaving. So
Uh,
that is my take
I
on
hope
Roy Williams.
hopefully they do figure it out because it is a blue blood school. You can never doubt the heart of a blue blood school to figure it out, especially with different voids. But I'm I really hope that they figure it out. I always loved UNC. The UNC is one of the best college basketball schools out there. If you go and you play pretty well, I think your draft stock will be pretty high. Um, but we'll see. That's all the
Yeah.
time we have for today, though. We are way over time. I was supposed to do multiple things. I did multiple things, but I still gotta go do some stuff for my other channels. So I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Once you do all of that, you join the Season Snatch family. I think I'm gonna start saying that now. It kind of rolls off the tongue.
Yes.
Make sure you check out our social medias on our handles and in the description below, specifically for SAS. Make sure you go check out my other channels that I wish Dalton would appear on, but maybe he'll appear on some gaming stuff. Like I thought about buying GTA since you play that.
Let's
Fortnite.
go.
I don't know if you play Among Us, so
I play Among Us
okay,
every now.
so yeah,
And just
we have some stuff that Dalton might be featured on. Just everything else, maybe IRL videos. We thought about doing some Mario Party with some gang. Pokemon, Minecraft. Don't think anytime soon. Don't expect him to be on those channels because he just. We tried getting to play the Minecraft. It didn't really work out as we thought it would. Pokemon, I don't think he will ever play any of those games. But yeah, that's
So
it for us. I'm the breadstick. This is Shark, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.